Hey everybody, it's Jason, AVP Wargamer. Welcome back to the channel. Right now I'm recording with my phone because I don't have any really good equipment right now. So until I can afford it, this is what I'm going to be dealing with. The last video was my unboxing of the AVP 2.0 board game, and it got cut off at the end right when I realized one of the board sections was actually included in the other set. The difference was the AVP 2.0 had a darker print of the same board section that was used in the old Kickstarter version, which had a little lighter print. So that was the part where I was like, oh, I was wrong. So if you're wondering what that was, that's what that was. But other than that, I was pretty much done with that video. But today, I decided just to do some ramblings and talk about painting miniatures, because it's the main aspect of this hobby is painting our figures and making the tabletop look awesome. If you're just starting out as painting miniatures, don't be afraid. Play with unpainted stuff until you can figure it out. But the best way to do it would be like with these Starship Trooper miniatures. Paint them with primer, either black or white. Doesn't matter. If you do white, go and get some like black wash or blue wash or some color that's similar to what you want your guys to look like. Spray paint it white, hit it with the wash, and the wash is going to sink into all those details, and then you'll have a two-tone miniature. There you go. You're ready to paint the details later. It looks good for the tabletop. If you have it with black primer, do a dry brush over the top of your black with whatever color you think that would complement the final paint job. And then there you go. It's a two-tone look. Nothing professional, but it'll definitely look better than bare plastic models on the table. So just, a couple examples here. I'm going to take this little Starship Troopers walker here. All I did was paint the base gray and hit it with a primer white. And I'm going to go through my washes here. I'm going to do a green wash because I want to give it like a military feel later. But I like the Citadel washes. A lot of people say use professional paints. All the pro painters say that, and for the most part I agree with them. Professional paints are a little bit better, but there's nothing wrong with getting the old Americana or what's this, the Apple Barrel, cheap dollar, craft paints. The difference between craft paints and the good stuff is the craft paints, the pigment's a little bit chunkier, just a little bit. So like when you do brush strokes, you might see little ridges of puddled paint left by the brush strokes. The professional paints are thinner, so you don't get that as much. But again, if you thin your paints and you use a wet palette and do all that kind of stuff, you can get it pretty consistent. And for the most part, for most non-professional painters, it'll be fine. I use it all the time. So anyways, I'm just going to put some wash on this one. And this is just going to tint it green. And out of all the washes that I've used, Citadel is the best that I've ever used. The paint that they put out is expensive, but it's worth every dollar. A lot of painters call it liquid talent because when you're done with it, people are like, wow, how'd you get in there or do all the individual details? Well, by washing it with a thick brush. Use a nice big thick brush to apply it. The bigger the model, the thicker the brush you want to use, and it'll get in all that crap, those crevices. You just get it in there. You see already, that looks better than it did with just white primer. So just go for it. Like, if you don't know how to paint, you don't need to. All you need to know are three things. You need to know how to dry brush, how to wash, and how to primer. That's pretty much it. So, anyways, yeah, this is going to be more of a camo scheme later. But I'm just doing the green to just give you guys an example of what it would look like to get something table ready as fast as possible. So there you go. So that's tabletop ready, and you could do the details later, but you got a base color, you got a two-tone, You could do your whole army like that, and you're ready to play within, just a couple hours of doing that to your whole force. Now, once you get crazy, you could go nuts like this. This is a technique I learned from some of the people off at the Tabletop Minions, watching Adam Smasher and all of his vlogs. But anyways, Zombicide, the board game, comes with like 75 miniatures per expansion, and I've got them all. So I've got a lot of zombies to paint. And when painting zombies, it doesn't really matter to have them all individualized and have them, absolutely perfect. But the thing about zombies is there's a lot of detail to be done on them. So what I've done is I've taken poster tack, attached it to a Home Depot stirring stick, and I stuck all my zombies on there after I primed them. And then what I do is I go through and I'm like, okay, these guys are all convicts, so they all have to have orange pants. So I'll just go and paint all the orange pants. And then these guys are going to have blue because they're like the security guards. So I'm going to paint them all blue. And then I go and paint all the flesh on all of them. And then I go wash them all brown and then wash them all with black. And so already I have, a pretty good start on them. And I got all the bases green, just went right down. And, this isn't, going too quickly, but it's way faster than if I was to do them all one at a time and get them all disorganized. Because the cool thing is if you want them all uniform, you can get in there and just do all one color and then just do the next color and just assembly line it. And then, for your special character kind of guys, then you can use those as your little reward at the end of the day for having to trudge through hundreds of troop models, painting them up. But like you see these guys are all the same. I'm going to paint them all just a little differently, but this really allows me to get in there and just get all those colors off my brush onto as many models as possible before they dry. And then washing, it makes them, washing them a lot easier. Like all these female zombies, they were originally just the primer white. I did all the bases green. I did pink on the legs and the face. And a lot of that pink got onto the clothes, but I didn't care because I black washed them. And they're going to be dirty zombies anyways. So you can see they're pretty much done. All I got to do is get in there and do some of the hero details like the eyes and the teeth. Maybe do some dry brushing and highlights on the dress. And then, flock your base or do whatever you want to do with your base. I see a lot of people saying online, they're like, oh, look at my miniature, it's done. And this is a gorgeous miniature, but the base is not finished at all or whatever. It's just, just got your paint splats on there. Finish your base. If you're going to say it's done, finish that base. Like, even if you just paint it one color, like black, and call it done. There you go. So anyways, this is a good way to keep your miniatures from being in bins, and it gives you something to focus on. A lot of my miniatures, the plastic ones, I'll just fill up a bin like this, and then when I'm ready, I'll put them all out on my board and kind of start, painting them in whatever order that I want. But when doing troop types, the yardstick idea was fantastic, and it helps me, get through a lot of them. And it takes a while to do it, and having them all stuck to a stick keeps them organized. So if I have to pack up my paints and go to a friend's house, or if I have to pack up my paints and make room for other projects, they're on a stick. They're right where I left them when I pull them back out again. So anyways, that's some advice. If you don't know what dry brushing is, I'll just talk about that technique really quick. There's a lot more videos online that are really good and more in detail out there. But I'll just kind of give you the basics. So this is an arachnid from the Starship Troopers miniatures game. And I've decided that I want to paint these to look like Geiger aliens, the xenomorphs. So what I've done is I've just primed them black. And I'm going to take some silver here. This is just Quicksilver by P3 Paints. I really like P3 Paints a lot. I like the lid design. It gives you this little reservoir here you could grab some paint off of. But anyways, I'm going to rub off a little bit of that paint. And you want to rub it off to where your paintbrush is kind of dry. Like, you see how when I brush it across here, I get a little bit of paint on there? That's kind of the idea, is we're not trying to fill this in with paint. We're trying to just brush it on the details. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to just brush off a little bit of that silver. And I'm just getting all the highlights. I want the black in the crevices. And that's why my brush isn't sopping with paint. And what this is doing is this is kind of getting a gunmetal look on here. And for the Geiger alien, you want that kind of organic metal. So that's definitely going to have grays and whites, maybe a little bit of brown and purple. But the best technique I've found was just to start off with a dry brush gray. On this dry brushing, it's a lot wetter than I would do it if I wanted to be careful. But I'm not too worried about the first coat. Okay, so now I have this silver bug. And then what I'm going to do is when that dries, I'm going to hit that silver bug with a wash. And one of my favorite washes is the Nightshade from Games Workshop. Nightshade is like my favorite wash of all time. It gives this bluish tint and is really good for putting over red. It's good for putting over green. It's good for putting over silver and black. And it gives that little bluish hue to it, which is, you know, a little bit different than if I was to use like a black wash. A black wash is good too. I'm going to use some of that later. I should let this dry more, but I don't know if my phone's going to cut out. So I'm going to paint a little bit of blue wash here. It's Nightshade. And what this is going to do, and since I didn't wait for the silver to dry, it's going to mix a little bit, which is fine. I'm still going to dry brush more silver on it later. But this is just getting the undertones in your model. So think of it in layers. You're starting with the shadows and the bottom layer of color. And then you're layering on top of that with highlights and other colors. I'm mainly concerned about getting in all the joints of this model. You can kind of see on my crappy resolution that I have my phone set to right now, just so that I can get this posted quickly. But there you go. So I'm going to let this dry. And then when this dries, I'm going to take a brighter silver and dry brush over that to kind of really pop out the highlights. I might even go there with a very thin brush and really hit the razor edges of these claws to really make them stand out, especially on the teeth. And then I'm probably going to do another wash after that and to kind of blend those highlights into the rest of it. And then go back again and re-highlight again. So the more layers you do, the more different variations of colors you can get. Like I might even do a little bit of a brown wash in certain areas to kind of give a more organic-ish look to it. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to fake lighting, we're trying to fake highlighting as well. So anyways, that's just a couple little things and pointers that I wanted to share with you guys. If you know of other good painters out there and other good vlogs, there's plenty out there on YouTube. Put some of your favorites down in the comment sections. Like, subscribe, join my AVP Wargamer Facebook group, and have fun sharing your stuff. So, talk to you later.